This is the story of a man and his wife who died in a riot at the Golden Gates. The woman in front with a yard to spare, stepping it out with her nose in the air. With her thoughts on paradise only bent, and nothing could throw her off her scent. Her spouse behind her just shuffled along, was feeling the strain but kept singing a song. In no hurry to cross the great divide, but one look from your woman made him hasten his stride. The woman was tall, gaunt and thin, with a bit of a whisker under her chin. Her brow was wrinkled, her hair was grey, but her face showed no fear of the judgment day. The man was small, floppy and stout, his chest stuck in and his stomach out. His passport across was his only dread, and he hadn't a rib of hair in his head. Said the woman as they approached the Golden Gate, "Sure, 'tis all your fault if we are late." St. Peter was asleep at the golden door. As the pair approached, they could hear him snore. The woman shook him awake and said, "Have you no respect for the lowly dead? Well, 'tis easy knowing you're not living with me. Didn't you sleep enough in Gethsemane?" St. Peter sat up and he yawned and sighed. "In what part of the world did you reside?" "In Birdhill, Tipperary," the woman said, "and for 40 years to this cull she wed." Said St. Peter, "I don't think we've anybody here from there. I was just going down to collect my pay, and I'll have you know that this is my half day. But since you've no representative in this place, I'll make an exception and hear your case." Said the woman, "Well, I won't give you much delay, for I never strayed from the narrow way. I worked from dawn till the light grew dim, but I'm sorry I couldn't say the same for him. I told the neighbours all along where I was right and where they were wrong. I said if they didn't mend their ways, they'd rue it all on Judgment Day. I preached them sermons loud and long, for me voice was good and me lungs were strong. And now, St. Peter, while I tidy me hair, step up them stairs and order my chair. Now it has to be one where the view is good. That's the one thing I want clearly understood. For in heaven I couldn't bear to dwell if I couldn't look down on the ones in hell." Well, St. Peter was listening with great reserve, but the last remark must have cracked a nerve, for he threw his stuff upon the floor and ordered the woman to the back door. Then he stood up, rang the bell and said, "Show this woman the road to hell. Get her a chair up near the fire and don't let her move back until I retire." Well, the old man picked up St. Peter's staff, and in spite of his trouble, he had to laugh. For the first time in 40 years, he felt free. "That shook you, Mrs. McGrath," said he. Then, from force of habit, he turned to go and follow the woman down below. For when she had received such a sentence grim, there was hardly much of a chance for him. So he started out with his eyes on the floor, and he met St. Peter on the corridor. "How long to this woman have you been wed, St. Peter?" The old man stopped and he scratched his head. "Ah, sure herself says we're married for years, 2 score. But to tell you the truth, I thought 'twas more." Said St. Peter, "'Twas a terrible cross to bear. 'Twas no wonder, poor man, that you lost your hair. But now that you're out of your bed of pins, how did you work out as regard the sins?" Said the old man, "Ah, sure, in such matters I'm terrible raw. I'm not too well up in the canon law, but herself says I broke the commandments all, and the deadly sins will be me downfall. Though for actual murder I couldn't be fined. Though I admit the thought often crossed my mind. But of one sin, St. Peter, I'm entirely free. I never committed bigamy. For one thing sure between me and you, one woman's enough, not to mention two. Said St. Peter, that's as far as you have to go. I was married myself when I was down below, and I heard sharp remarks from both old and young, but never the likes of that woman's tongue. So now, good man, for your rich reward, step up those stairs and meet the Lord. I'll get you the harp and the golden crown. Get up, St. Patrick, and let him sit down. For 'tis now, as it always was in the past, that the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Thank you.